Okay, so this is the lab on elasticity, and what we're going to look at is the elasticity of this rather stretchy rubber cord here. So we have the dimensions of it. If you look down at the bottom of the sheet, I believe it's 1/8 by 1/16 cord. So that gives you the cross-sectional area. And what we'll do is we'll apply a load to that area and it'll cause it to stretch. And we'll measure the amount of stretch on this sheet of paper here. And then with that information, with the, you'll be measuring the deformation, you'll be measuring the deformation. And from the deformation you can back calculate the strain. And then you can, with the load and the area, you can calculate the stress. And the idea is ultimately to plot, like this little diagram here, the stress versus the strain. And then you could take the slope of that, and that'll be the stiffness. Okay, so step number one, I have to have a starting point. So I mark it here as where it's beginning. And I'm going to actually apply, since I've got plenty of washers, in the instructions it says one at a time, but I'm going to put on two at a time. So this is going to be measured, the first mark is with 2 washers. So there I've got the weight of 2 washers, and I let it hang there, and I measure it right there. And I can read that measurement. With 2 washers, it's dropping, looks like, get this accurately, looks like 5 actually. It could be 4. Well, we'll say 4. Maybe 4.5. There you go. You like precision. 4, 2, and 2, 4.5. So we have, and each one of those squares is, I believe, oh golly. Let's measure. These are 1/2 inch here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the 1/2 inch. So that's a 1/10 each, right? There'll be a 1/10 each. So I've got exactly 0.45 for that first deformation. So with 2 washers, 0.45. So you've got to keep track of it. Maybe I'll write it down myself. 2 washers, 0.45, so you keep track of that. Now here we go up to, whoa, now the whole thing collapses. Here we go up to 4 washers. Okay, and we see where it hangs with 4 washers. So with 4 washers, oh golly, don't want my board to fall over. It hangs a little bit lower. Yeah, it's not quite linear, I don't think, but it's about there. Okay, so that's 3 and 2. It's probably actually 5.5. So I'm going to say 0.55 is the deformation, the continued deformation, right? So the total deformation would be this, the sum of those two would be 0.10, right? For 4 washers from the start point. And now I put on, whoa, now the whole thing falls over. Now I put on 6 washers. 6 washers, and we see where 6 washers hang. Okay, that looks real close to that. Okay, that's about there. So that's 5, 6, 7 maybe. 0.7. Okay, so that's increased by 0.7. So it's not quite linear. I think it's got a little bit of a curve to it. as the load increases, but that's all right. You can graph that then, and what you'll want to graph, you'll have to calculate the strain at each point. But my measurements as I added weight, it went down by 0.45, then it went down by 0.55, so that brought it to 0.10. I mean, right, 0.1. Excuse me. Can't say it right. 1.0. That's 1.0. That was 1 inch. And then I did another 0.7. So I end up at a total at the end of 1.7 with 6 washers. Okay, so, all right, you now need to take the weight of the washers and calculate the strain in that chord, and you've got the area of the chord, and then plot, as it shows in this diagram, the stress by strain. And you won't, I mean, you'll see. You'll get a little bit different curve maybe because I've used heavier weight, but it should be pretty close to what that one is. Okay? Okay, have at it.